with tapasya does reap benefits?
जी सर, मैंने नहीं बनाया, ये मैं क्रेडिट नहीं लूँगा, आपने बनाया है।
तपस्या कैंपस है स्पेसिफिकली जहाँ पे हम खड़े हुए हैं. दिस शुड बी अ वे फॉरवर्ड फॉर एनी एस्पिरेंट.
Hello everyone, welcome to the newspaper Analysis Townhall for the 11th of November. Today, these are the 5 articles that we are having. One is about COP30 and developing countries. The second one is, as you know, that Prime Minister Modi has gone to Bhutan. So this one is about India-Bhutan ties as to how they have progressed and what are the current challenges. This is article number 2. This article is primarily covered in both Hindu and Indian Express, but in Indian Express it was in bit more detail and it is covered through both historical, geographical and present context by Raja Mohan sir. And third one is right to health. As you know that protests have held yesterday in Delhi regarding the current pollution status of Delhi. So we will be looking at this article as to what are the key concerns or the points that have been raised by the author, and then these are 3 prelims pointers that we will be covering today. So yes, starting with our very first article, you can see New Horizons. This is talking about developing countries must take the lead in addressing climate crisis, and another one is what South Asia wants from COP30. So both articles are discussing climate change and global climate action. They particularly say that the world is not doing enough to control the climate change, and especially South Asia, the countries like India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Maldives, Bhutan is already suffering heavily, because we have seen even in our Assam, Bihar, Nepal, we are regularly seeing floods, heat waves, landslides. Yeah, so these are the particular concerns that have been raised in this particular article. But if we look at the crux of both the articles, they are majorly focusing on, so the one key point raised here, you can see here, it is written here that United States, the big players, the United States are weakening the climate cooperation, because we know that US have exited the UNFCCC, as well as developing countries. Both articles calls excuse me, the developing countries to take the lead as well as leadership and push for the re-election. Right, before we look at the key points from these articles, I want to show you one thing. Look at this. So before looking at any article, we have to know our boundaries as to how UPSC has asked questions from these particular themes. The theme of UNFCCC is as important for UPSC as Gandhi, as Government of India Acts, as Governor, President, Parliament, as National Income Accounting for your economics. So it is a very, very important theme. And see how questions have been asked. So the question in 2021 was directly asked from the COP26 summit that has happened in Glasgow. So we know that COP30 is going in Brazil. Another one, look at this prelims question in 2010. It was asking UNFCCC excuse me, is an international treaty drawn at, right? So we know that it was drawn at the UN summit of 1992. Another question, so UN summit of 2015 that has held in Paris is very important, Paris Pact, as we know. So the question was asked directly in 2016 and this was a wrong number, so this could have been eliminated to arrive at the right answer. Another one was asked in CAPF 2024. CAPF, as you know, that exam is conducted by the UPSC and it has asked you to match the last 3 or 4 COPs, Conference of Parties. Because remember, for this year 2025, if you look at the prelims exam, he was asking you international years. So prelims has become very, very dicey. It has, I think, asked international years of women farmers or cooperatives. So right, so we have to know that which UNFCCC summit has taken place at which place? Right. So moving to the crux of this article as to what this article was trying to say. So yeah, 10 years have passed after the historic Paris Agreement, and this year the summit is taking place in Belém, that is in Brazil. However, we know that global climate cooperation is definitely under strain as we look that US have withdrawn and there are disagreements among both the developing and developed country. So articles are identifying what are the key challenges. First key challenge that is talked about here is implementation gap. Yes, implementation gap, because large difference between climate pledges, we have seen that they have gone to across 300 billion a year, 100 billion a year. What developing countries are getting, probably not even 100 million a year. So there is huge implementation gap. Plus, second thing that this article has identified is weak multilateral cooperation, because geopolitical rivalries are going on, as we can see that between US and China, right, between EU plus developing countries in terms of funding. And the third is climate finance deficit. We know that money is going to play a huge role, but US has withdrawn, as well as the amount that was committed even in Paris Agreement, the amount that was committed around $100 billion a year has not been provided yet. So these are the three core challenges that have been identified this article. It is calling for leadership opportunities for developing countries, as to developing countries should take the lead. How they can take the lead here is taking collective leadership roles, especially the BRICS countries, as well as enhancing ambition in their INDC. India has definitely done it, because we have said that we will achieve net zero by 2070. China is also taking lead. That China has said that it will be it is committed to net zero, achieving net zero by probably 2050, supporting just, equitable and predictable finance frameworks, as well as strengthening carbon markets and forest protection mechanisms. So that's how the developing countries can take a lead here, because it is going to be a global cooperation. If we want to fight the climate change, it is going to be the global cooperation. What India can do, India in particular. So article as such has identified three themes as to what are the challenges, how developing countries can come together to fight the menace of climate change, and what India can do. India positions itself as a credible and balanced global voice. Yeah, because we represent around 18% of the global community, and we have also launched global initiatives like CDRI. So India can also lead through technology sharing, renewable scaling, and climate resilient development models. The second article, this one, which was focusing on South Asia, has suggested some of the things that South Asia, because we know that South Asia as a whole is suffering with monsoonal floods, heat waves. Last summer, you must know, glacial lake outbursts have taken place in Uttarakhand, Himachal, coastal erosion. So these are the outcomes of climate change, and South Asia as a whole is an integrated region. So what can be the priorities of South Asian region? So yeah, what can be the priorities of South Asian region? They can strengthen adaptation alongside mitigation. Both are needed. Heat resilient planning could be there. Coastal protection, glacier monitoring, drought management as a whole for the South Asian region, as well as they can mainstream climate resilience into development planning. They can engage non-state actors like local government, civil society, youth, private sector. So the author is also proposing a South Asia Resilience Finance Facility here. What will be its purpose? Its purpose will be to mobilize predictable, concessional, and non-debt inducing finance for the climate change. Now your task is, in this article, there are three funds that have been mentioned. So what you have to do, you have to comment in the comment box as to when Green Climate Fund was created, as to when Loss and Damage Fund was created, and when Adaptation Fund was created. I want your participation, and we will make your daily current affairs super simplified. Trust me. We are taking integrated approach here. Right. So moving to the second article. This one is from Indian Express. It is talking about India-Bhutan story. India-Bhutan story. So the context of this article is that Prime Minister Modi has gone to the Bhutan to attend the 70th birthday celebration of former king. He's I think popularly known as K4. 𝐼𝐸 𝐕𝐢𝐝 was his name, and the current one is J5, is popularly known as J5. He is his son. So Prime Minister Modi's presence is a gesture of respect and shows the emotional closeness between both the countries. This is the immediate reason as to why Prime Minister Modi has gone to the Bhutan. So this is the crux of this article. Mr. C. Raja Mohan uses as he describes India-Bhutan relationship as quiet resilience, and is one of the most successful neighboring partnerships. How the partnerships has evolved over a period of years. So it has its roots in the Treaty of Friendship that was signed in year 1949. Under this treaty, Bhutan agreed to be guided by India in its foreign affairs, but over time it has become unsustainable because we have seen that there is a rising nationalism. We have seen in Nepal, as well as to some extent it was also there in Bhutan, as well as weakening of India's relative power, especially during the 1990s. But so the modern 2007 treaty revision was there. What it has done, it has removed the clause that Bhutan must be guided by India. And it has redefined ties on the basis of mutual respect for independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. So this remark that was there in the original 1949 treaty, that Bhutan agreed to be guided by India, was removed. The central pillar of India-Bhutan partnership is hydropower cooperation. Is hydropower cooperation. Since the 1960s, hydropower cooperation has been the central pillar of Bhutan's economic development. Bhutan sells electricity to India, and in this way it generates income. However, this partnership is also not without its challenges, as we have seen during the 2017 Doklam standoff, because as we know that with India, Bhutan shares a border, as well as with China, it also shares the border, and Doklam has become a very, very sensitive issue. So what Bhutan is doing, it is trying to deal cautiously with it, maintaining its sovereignty while keeping India's security concerns in mind. So these are the this is the crux of this article. Now moving on to the next article, it is about the clean air protests that have taken place yesterday in Delhi. So the context of this article is Delhi's air has become severely polluted. We know that air quality index has touched or even crossed 400 in many areas in Delhi, and this has been happening every winter because we live in Delhi and NCR. We know we are seeing this phenomena for the past at least a decade. So this is happening in every winter, but this time citizens have finally, including the parents, children, students, and elderly, came together and they have protested at India Gate demanding clean air. And they are saying that clean air is not a gift from the government, it is a right. It is a right under a right to life. So the author is trying to say that clean air is not a privilege. It is not a privilege that we are asking from the government. It comes under right to life. That is Article 21. Before we look at the crux of this article as to what authors are suggesting, what this op-ed has suggested, we must keep in mind that questions have been asked from this topic regarding air quality index. So you can see this question. It was asked in 2016. In the cities of our country, which among the following atmospheric gases are normally considered in calculating the value of air quality index? So we definitely know that carbon dioxide is not there. that carbon dioxide is not there, तो इसको हम हटा देंगे और बचेगा कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड, नाइट्रोजन ऑक्साइड और सल्फर डाइऑक्साइड. So answer comes out to be 2, 3 and 4 only. Not just prelims, but in mains questions have also been asked. Look at this question regarding the degradation of environment. Policy contradictions among various competing sectors and stakeholders have resulted in inadequate protection and prevention of degradation to environment. So it was asked in GS2 in 2018. Because pollution, what has happened is pollution has been treated casually by politicians. They blame each other instead of solving it. We are seeing this phenomena in Delhi in past decade or so. For years, for many years, people have also been accepted this as normal. The problem lies that people are accepting this as normal. Okay, हर साल होगा ही होगा, क्या करेंगे, 2 महीने की बात है, जाने देते हैं, कोई दिक्कत की बात नहीं है. लेकिन but now for the very first time citizens have broken their silence and they have protested at India Gate. So what this shows that people are no longer willing to remain passive. The clean air now must be treated as political priority. Just like other issues are there, other economic issues, we see that politicians talk about roti kapda और मकान, तो उसमें pollution भी बहुत important angle होना चाहिए. So what this article has suggested, it has suggested that what citizens are demanding. They are demanding independent air quality and public health commission. This should not be controlled by politics, rather it should be controlled by the civil society. Next, they are demanding is transparent real-time air data, because there have been allegations that data has been manipulated. Then they are also asking health alerts and guidance like 𝐼𝐸𝐝 for air, as well as accountability as to where these funds, because thousands of crores of funds have been given by the central government as well as state governments, but there is no accountability as to where these funds are going. So the central message of this article is that clean air is like the first vaccine that every child needs. So there is this, you can see that National Clean Air Program is being mentioned here. So what is National Clean Air Program? It was launched in the year 2019 by the central government. And its purpose was to improve air quality in million plus cities and non-attainment cities. Its target was not to reduce other pollutants like nitrogen dioxide, but it was focusing on particulate matter PM 2.5 and PM 2.10 concentration by 20 to 30% by 2024. And city action plans have been prepared under National Clean Air Program. Right. So moving to the next article, it is about it has been covered in both the Hindu as well as in Indian Express. It is about Sudan. So first of all, before discussing this article, let me show you the questions as to this article is not important from the perspective of mains, but for prelims. So let's see some of the questions that have been asked. Questions are regularly being asked from 2022, 23, 24 as to violence is going on or the conflict is going on in the African regions. This is 2023rd question. In the recent years, Chad, Guinea, Mali and Sudan caught the international attention for which of the following reasons common to all of them? That is successful coups. Then again in 2024 Sudan question was there, that why Sudan is in news. Sudan, there is a war going on between country's regular army and paramilitary forces. So because there is large scale violence that have been going on, according to some estimates, close to 150,000 deaths have occurred, and more than 10 million, around 13 odd million people have been displaced. So the human cost is very, very huge. There are reports of famine in various parts of Darfur, that is the capital region of Sudan, and people are dying of hunger. So let's look at first of all, let me set you the context as to what is happening. So there is the first stakeholder is Sudanese army. It is led by General Burhan, and the second is Rapid Support Forces. Rapid Support Forces. It is led by Hemediti. So Rapid Support Forces. So the it is in context of recent RSF violence. Rapid Support Forces have created a violence recently, especially in the 𝐿 region. So these regions which are being mentioned here are very important. Are very important for your prelims exam. This region. Please take a note of them, as well as Darfur. So what is happening is that Sudan is now split. Army controls most of the country, and the army of Sudan is supported by Egypt. They are supported by Egypt, as well as the RSF, which is controlling the Darfur region, especially. It is supported by UAE. So the articles were warning as to if the Sudan may collapse if the war continues, as we have seen that foreign countries, the UAE, Egypt, Russia, are making things worse. So what has happened is that recently RSF has captured 𝐿 region, and they have committed horrific atrocities. They have been killing. There have been instances of mass rapes, and even at the maternity hospital there have been instances of rape. The civil war of Sudan has begun around in 2021-22, when military and RSF fought each other for integrating forces. So this war has been taking place for the last 4 years. Remember these regions as well as these organizations, the RSF as well as these regions, 𝐿 and Darfur, the capital of Sudan. Moving on to the next article. Next article is about periodic labor force survey. So this data is not important for our exam. We just have to focus on the key areas as to what is periodic labor force survey. It is launched by National Statistical Office in 2017. Its purpose is to generate high frequency labor market data. Periodic labor force survey. So recently what has happened is a government survey studied employment in India for the period of July to September. And it has compared with the April to June quarter of 2025. What were its major findings? That in rural areas, people were unemployed. Its major findings were that in rural areas, unemployment has went down, but in urban areas, it has slightly moved ahead. The reason for as to the rural employment has went down has been seasonal work in the agriculture. So let's talk about the periodic labor force survey. As we have seen that it was first conducted in the year 2017 to generate high frequency labor market data. The first annual report was released in 2019 based on the July 17 to June 18, but it was not released. And it was released after, I think, the 2019 general elections. What is its objective? It provides quarterly estimates to 4 key labor indicators. These are labor force participation rate, LFPR, worker population ratio, and unemployment rate for urban areas. What is its methodology? Methodology is current weekly status approach. What it is, under it, a person will be considered unemployed if he has not worked for 1 hour. It's not for 1 day, mind you, it is for 1 hour during the last reference week, and they must also actively sought, or they must be trying to get the work. So this is current weekly status approach. The question has already been asked about the periodic labor force survey in 2020 in CAPF exam. So there are chances that question could be asked not from the data, but as to what how it is conducted and who conducts periodic labor force survey. Now moving on to the last article of our day, it is about the new institution that has been created. So the context of this article is recently China's President Xi Jinping met Donald Trump at APEC summit. So you have to comment as to what is APEC. where recently Xi Jinping and Donald Trump have met, when it was created, and is India its member or not? So what has happened here is that China has made a big proposal. China has made a proposal to create a global organization. So what it is calling that organization, World Artificial Intelligence Cooperation Organization. World Artificial Intelligence Cooperation Organization. So what will be its objective? Its objective would be how AI should be controlled and used across the world. So to give you some context of the as to why China is doing it, because China has been, we must have been reading commentary that China is trying for the last 2 decades, it has been trying to shape the international rules instead of following the rules. Those rules of post Second World War were set by the US. Now what China is doing, China is trying to shape international rules. So it wants to shape rather than follow. It does not want to follow, it wants to shape. So it has recently launched very many initiatives. It has been mentioned here. So like, these are some of the initiatives by the UN, but China has launched initiatives like Global Development Initiative, Global Security Initiative, Global AI Governance Initiative. But there is some concern because as the name would be international in name, but China wants its headquarters to be in Shanghai. So what it will do is that China will be having more influence over the decisions and more control over the global AI standards. So you can look at some of the other summits related to global governance that have been there in the news in the last 1 year. One is Global Digital Compact. It was UPSC may ask you a question as to which initiative. So I think in 2025 it has already asked a question on the AI summit that is held in Paris in 2025. So there are high chances that question could be asked from this summit. One is this one is Global Digital Compact. Read about this, and these are the 2 governance mechanisms that are created by the United Nations. One is Global Dialogue on AI Governance, and second is Independent International Scientific Panel on AI. Go and read about them because they could be very well asked in your prelims 2026 exam. So these are the 2 practice questions that I want you guys to answer in the comment section. We will try to provide you the practice questions from the topics that we have discussed. So this is it for today. Thank you very much. Thank you.